Games Workshop very kindly sent me the new Poxwrought Vector set, which is of course going to expand my Death Guard force to quite a nice and sizable army. And obviously the thing I'm most excited about inside of this box set is the beautiful new character. He is absolutely stunning. When he was revealed, well, accidentally leaked many months ago, I've been dying to get my hands on it and paint him up. So that's what I'm going to do in today's video. Hopefully you guys are excited to see it. If you guys have been watching my content for any amount of time, you will know that Death Guard and Nurgle are my favorite Chaos God and Chaos Space Marine Legion. I love them so much. I think the aesthetic of them is just fantastic. And this guy just adds to that aesthetic even further. I think this particular sculpt is amazing. And for quite a long time, I couldn't put my finger on why he stood out from other Death Guard miniatures. And it was actually Fletcher, the painter from Tabletop Tactics, that awesome guy there, who made the statement that he's the first Death Guard that isn't a joke. And by that I mean there isn't any like funny nurgling hanging off him, like doing something silly, or he is just a serious, threatening, dangerous looking character, and I think that is awesome. I recently painted up a squad of Death Guard for the new Kill Team starter set, and then I went on and painted up Mortarion for you guys. So I have started up a new little Death Guard army, and this guy will be added to that and painted up in the same style and aesthetic of that. Obviously, I've gotten the entire box set sent to me, so there's a bunch of other kits in there. And if you guys specifically want to see any one of those kits painted up, please do let me know in the comments below, and maybe I can squeeze in that into my release schedule. I would be more than happy to do more Death Guard videos for you. If you want to let me know that you're enjoying this video, which will obviously encourage me to make more videos, make sure to give the video a like, comment, and subscribe. Those usual 3 good things. Okay, as you can see, I used Plague Bearer Flesh over my traditional base coat. So my traditional base coat is spray black and spray a light gray, like a Zenithal. And then Plague Bearer Flesh all of the armor. And then I decided to go for Guilliman Flesh contrast for all of the kind of the gooey bits coming up over his power pack. And that horrible like flap of skin that's holding in his air tank, and then the hoses going off. I'm painting up as like intestines and stuff. It's really gross, but it's really awesome. Volupus Pink was then used for all of his cloth, all of that mangy cloth that exists, of course, across the Death Guard range. I really do like the kind of off pink color as the secondary one for the Death Guard army. I think it works an absolute treat. I do love that big like busted sword that he has strung across its back. It's amazing. In order to get that kind of rusted blade look, I'm going to start with Wildwood Contrast just to get a nice dark rich brown tone across the entire blade. And then we'll hit it with a couple of colors later on to make it look really rusty and really awesome. If you're planning on picking up these kits yourself and you want to save yourself a little bit of money and you're from either the United Kingdom or the rest of Europe, then we have some links down below in the description to take you to sites that will give you up to like 20% off, and the channel will get a little bit of a kickback as well. So just thought I'd let you know. Okay, I use Balthazar Gold now for some of the trim on the armor. It's really interesting this particular guy has like mismatched armor plates. Maybe he's gotten so swollen it's kind of hard to replace armor panels, and that has led to him having to have like a mismatched set. And why I think it's mismatched is, for instance, there's loads of nice trim to do on that right leg, but his left leg doesn't have any of that trim. Luckily, it's tucked underneath the robe, so you're not really going to notice it. But if it wasn't tucked away, that would bother me, the lack of gold on the other leg. Obviously, you've got to pick and choose which parts of the metallics on this model you want to do in the kind of off gold bronze color and which you want to do in the silver color. You can literally decide that yourself, whichever pipes work for you, whatever vents work for you, whatever bolts work for you. You know what I mean? It's not an exact science, so just enjoy it. Black Templar Contrast was then used for all the piping, i.e. the side of his face mask, the casing on his plasma pistol, and all the straps and belts and stuff that are holding that big busted sword on his back. I think busted sword is the right way to say that, or what it is. It's just so dangerous. I'm just standing there menacingly like tapping the pommel of this massive sword, kind of bringing you into that like false sense of security that he's going to move super slow, but you know that's not the case. He's going to have that thing in his hand in a dangerous position in a microsecond. Okay, time to add those silver in, and as like I said, whatever metallics you did not do with the gold, you just hit it with the silver now. So like I said, any rivets or links or vents or any of those kind of bits, all the pipe work out of his back, you can hit that with silver now. And with those bits in place, it's now time to shade the model down. Now to shade the model, I'm going to go for Agrax Earth Shade, and I'm going to do an all over coat across the entire miniature. It's going to darken everything down. It's going to put some nice weathering on all those metallics and give us a really nice place to start layering up from. While it's done, I'm also going to do my kind of Martian style base on this particular guy. I really do love that Martian style base on Death Guard. It really helps them pop. You'll see later on when the base is 100% complete how much it helps make the green like stand out even more. I love it. Okay, for my armor, it's a interesting armor tone, but I think I nailed it. I think it looks really, really cool, and it's quite a bizarre way of getting there, so hopefully you enjoy this. So first of all, we start with the Death Guard green, and then we're going to layer up the armor panels. Now, these are Death Guard. This armor is old and pitted and decayed and gross. You're not looking for nice smooth lines or pure coats. You're looking for kind of scratchy highlights across all the panels and all the armor, leaving some of the previous coats behind. That is totally, totally fine. If you give it a solid pure coat, it'll look more like a Salamander than a Death Guard. So this is the kind of coat you want for the first coat of green. And then we're going to jump up to Nurgling Green, which is obviously a much more kind of pallid coat. It's closer to a bone than a green, really. And then we're going to do exactly the same thing we did on the previous step, but just a little bit lighter. We want to have some of that green showing through. And we just want to have this hitting those kind of higher points. Now, if I was to just leave it here, I would absolutely despise this color for Nurgle armor plates. It's super dull. It's super like uninteresting, uninspiring. If you saw a whole army painted like this across a tabletop, I would think it looks really dull. But that's where we break out the secret weapon to make this armor really, really pop. And it's a sneaky little trick, but it works a treat. And that is we are going to grab ourselves a pot of yellow glaze. Now, Games Workshop used to do yellow glaze, so if you have one of the old ones, that works perfectly. I found a substitute in the Too Thin Coats yellow glaze, but I'm sure any yellow glaze paint from any range will probably do the trick. And we're going to apply a solid coat of this without thinning it down or anything, and straight from pot to model all over the green. And as you can see, it transforms that really pallid, boring green into this like toxic, luminous green. It has a little bit of sheen, a bit of lacquer left to it, kind of giving the impression that the armor might be like slick wet with old mold and decay and grime. And I just think it looks incredible. Like, what a transition. So with the green armor complete, it's time to start working on some of the other details across this model. So first of all, we've got the huge big flesh sack out his back. So we're going to start with hitting that with a Cadian flesh tone. We're going to hit that with a kind of a red Berserker blood shade, like shade, to kind of darken it down a little bit, add a little bit more of a fleshy tone to it. And then we're going to hit it with a Kislev flesh as the final highlight, really scratchy touch highlights across that to make it pop. If you guys are enjoying this video, you want to help support the channel even further, there's awesome ways to do that, such as our Patreon or becoming a member of the YouTube channel membership. Those things are, of course, linked down in the description below. You get access to a private Discord server, and you get access to an extra video every single week for being a member of either of those two things. So please do think about checking those out. Like I said, linked below. Okay, this is this Berserker blood shade that I was talking about, hitting the kind of skin tone. As you can see, it really darkens it down. Makes it look gross, to be honest, which is really what you want to do. And then when we come in for that Kislev flesh final highlight on those skin, we are going to go super light. We just want to catch like edges and like kind of flayed bits and just the highest points. You want it to look super kind of gross and just like off tone, if you know what I mean. You don't want any smooth like streaks of skin tone anywhere through it. So as you can see, I'm using the very point of the brush, the very tip of the brush, sorry. And I'm just attacking those bits in a almost like a stippling motion on some of the larger, flatter bits to get a little bit of color in it, but obviously not oversaturated with that bright tone. Okay, time to start working on that purple cloth. So the next thing we're going to do is go for Screamer Pink. And we're going to highlight up the robes. You can go for a slightly kind of heavier coat with this if you want. Obviously the purple is quite dark, and obviously with the Agrax Earth shade over the top, it's gone darker again. And you do want this as the real secondary color of the army to stand out a little bit. So we're going to go for a nice highlight across all of the tattered rags over his shoulder. And of course his big beautiful cape going down his back, making sure we get those highlighted. Now, normally I am not a mixing kind of guy. I like going straight from pot to model. I don't like to overcomplicate things with mixing. But unfortunately, with these particular tones, especially with Games Workshop, there is no real Screamer Pink straight up to kind of tone. Nothing that I've seen that really works. So I'm going to mix a little bit of Pink Horror, about 50-50 with the previous tone, which will give us a really nice highlight color for this. And then at the very end, you can go back in if you want with pure Screamer Pink, pure Pink Horror, and just add those very final touch highlights to the really kind of finest points, corners, edges, straight line, that kind of thing. And this will help to make that kind of cloth pop. It's now time to start working on that sword. And like I said, we have a few sneaky tricks. So we grab our Artis Opus dry brush, a small one, and we just stipple on Ryza Rust across that blade to give it that kind of rusty look. I do love Ryza Rust. I use it all the time. It's a very simple technique. We don't just leave it like this though, even though it does look like kind of old and pitted and rusty, but you know, obviously this is a sword. It is swung at enemies constantly. So even though it is pitted, it's going to have quite a sharp edge. It's going to have lots of scratches from where it's cleaved through other Space Marine armor and stuff like that. So we'll grab the same dry brush, make sure we've cleaned off the orange, and we give this sword a light dry brush of lead belcher. Once again, just to catch those edges and give the sword an old but used look. I think that turned out really nicely. Corvus Black was then brought in, and we're just going to touch back up those kind of straps holding the Buster Sword. Obviously, when we did the stippling and the dry brushing, we ruined them, we covered them in, and we just want that to be really clean and slick again. You could go all in on these straps and do loads of work and make them look like leather or whatever you want. But I just think it's, you know what I mean? You can leave that particular detail in dark black as a background thing. No one's going to be paying attention to it. When they turn the model around, they're going to be looking at the awesome sword, not the straps holding the awesome sword to the model. So don't worry about it too much. With the same lead belcher you used to dry brush the sword, we're going to use this as a touch highlight for all the metallics across the model. So all that gold and all that silver, just little touch highlights to make it pop. We're going to add Nilic Oxide now to the model. All the kind of recesses, anywhere with real cracks. Make sure it's around all the rivets on the bronze and brass. Any kind of deformities in the blade, you want to feed it in there. The turbine coming up over his back. We just want to add that. Anywhere where water would settle naturally on the model is where oxidization is going to occur. And it's just going to add that extra little pop of color to the model. This is going to be the final touch to painting this particular guy up. I did paint his eye lenses red and gloss them and stuff like that. Nothing too crazy. I just kind of forgot to record it. And for the plasma coils, whatever plasma coil you're doing for the rest of your Death Guard army, I'm doing an orange. So I just threw an orange contrast over the top. Maybe I'll go back and do a little bit more work to that in the near future. But for now, I'm happy enough with that. Here's the Nihilic Oxide, like I said, being played into all the pitted and broken parts of the sword. And with that, we have our finished Lord of Poxes miniature ready to serve. He's just so cool. I'm so in love with this model and I cannot wait to deploy him. I'm really going to push forward and in my own personal hobby, get the rest of this box set painted up. Just so I can have a nice Death Guard force ready to be played with as soon as possible. We also got sent the new Slaughter Bound miniature, so look out for that in a video very soon.